But if you actually broke it down, it's a woman is designed to be pretty much whatever your husband like needs you to be. So if you need to be a porn star for your
And that's where I say
be a
stuff
porn
the
star
Bible.
for your husband. Be the
Uh-oh.
biggest whore for your husband in the name of Jesus. Like, I don't understand why everybody thinks that being a porn star is far away from being from Jesus. If you're a porn star for your husband, listen, God will give you an extra star. You're keeping that man home. Good job.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, anyone listening. It's hard being human. We are back. I'm Colleen. I have Nadine. I have Devin. You know the deal. Follow us on social media. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, all the social media plugs. Today we have a very interesting topic, which is kind of funny that I am partaking in this conversation because this is something I've kind of lost touch with recently, but we're talking about how to be a godly badass. How do we stay in touch with God while remaining our true badass selves? And so I'm just going to kick it off real quick because I kind of mentioned it. Like, I've really lost touch with God, I feel, in the last, 5 years of my life, maybe. As I become more of an adult, I grew up going to church. I sang in the church choir. I went to
Wait,
mission
are you gonna
trip.
sing for us one day? Like, is that
Oh my
still a thing?
God, in a manger, no crib or a bit. I know all of
I
them.
was gonna back you. Like I was drinking, but like that was my ish. But go ahead.
No,
I was
like
the best. I was the best, hands down.
don't even get me started on the hymnals. I know all the
All of them.
hymnals. I grew up a Methodist, so if that speaks to anyone listening, we're a very accepting group of individuals. You can be gay, you could be whatever you want to be, and they're very accepting. So yeah, I grew up very close to God. How did you guys grow up? How was kind of your upbringing?
I'll go. I grew up very, very, very close to God. I had perfect attendance. It was almost like we lived at church. It was between 5 to 6 days out of the week. They had all of these activities back to back that I had to go with my mom, and I also had with myself. So it definitely was a full overindulgence of Christianity back to back to back. But I can honestly say that growing up in the church, like even though you don't appreciate it at the time, a lot of the things that like a lot of the core values I want to say those were instilled in me, and I still carry those till this day. So I'm so sorry.
Aw, hi Preston.
He is squeaking. He's just. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm working on my kids' home training, but yeah, no, just growing up in the church, like I said, for me, it instilled hardcore values, and even when I tried to deviate from those values, or even when life happened, I could always refer back to those core values and know that, okay, if I'm going through this season, I can refer to this like passage, or I can reach out to this individual that will keep me on track for success. So, similar to what Colleen said, I have had a period in my life where I definitely turned away from God. I questioned God. I was very upset with God, and I came back around to understand the true purpose. Like when you serve, it doesn't mean that you won't get tested. You're supposed to get tested. We're going to get tested more than the person who's not doing the right thing. So I think that was the part for me that I had to come to that understanding. So I always make a joke with everyone saying that I accepted Christ twice, I want to say, and I still have to go to Joel Osteen's church for my baptism. That's not negotiable. But I was baptized, I want to say 11, 12, and Devin and her sister was there, Michelle. But I didn't truly feel like I understood what I was doing, to be honest with you. I think I was just getting baptized because it was the right thing to do. And everybody else was getting baptized. And at that point in time, me and my childhood best friend, Elizabeth, we got in trouble multiple times for drinking the wine in the back. So that was the alternative. It was just like, listen, if you guys want to be part of it, you guys just have to get baptized. So I don't know if we understood the severity of the situation. We just wanted to drink the wine and eat the bread because we were hungry. So yeah, we were hungry and we enjoyed like the wine aspect, but I don't think we ever took it as seriously as we should like have taken it. So I know personally I accepted Christ probably at the age of maybe 32, 33. I can't recall, but that's when I personally truly accepted Christ.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
And I mean, I feel like as more episodes go on, we could get so like detailed and dissect things because I think, like you said, Nadine, everybody goes through and Colleen, like you go through a period where you kind of don't have God. And I think that was kind of like the start of my life. Like my parents weren't against it. We talked about it. But I didn't go to Sunday school or go to service every week or anything like that. It was more so dipping and dabbing with friends and going to church with my friends. And Nadine, I used to go to church with her when I was little. They spoke Creole mostly, but they would have an English speaking service maybe once a month or something like that.
Yeah.
I did get in trouble one time by her mom because I didn't wear a skirt. I wore pants, and that was not okay.
My mom. There are adults right now that are still afraid of my mother.
I'm still afraid of my mom. So
yeah.
Yeah, that was so that was my introduction to going to church regularly, and is Nadine's mother.
Yeah. We'll give her.
But we had so much fun. I don't know if I really remember the messages back then or if I was really taking it in. I think I was just glad that I got to hang out with Nadine, and I remember I have a lot of memories with Elizabeth. We'll have to have her as a guest. She is a ball.
Crazy. Colleen, you will love her. She's wild.
Yeah, you will love her. She is a goofball.
Isn't it crazy? A lot of your church friends, like I have a lot of like church friends, and they are all like my weed dealer in high school was my church friend. You know, so it's like I had so many friends at church. Not to cut you off, Debbie,
no, it's okay.
Just
Godly badass. That's what it is.
I had so many church friends, and like church camp was like. It wasn't church camp. It's like, who are you going to grind with at the church camp dance? You know, it was like, church was more of like a social thing. And Nadine, I got baptized as a literal infant. So talk about not knowing what you're signing yourself up for. You know, like I clearly don't remember that, but I did get confirmed. So like I had to go through confirmation class and like do all of this stuff. And then like basically when you're 13, you like claim for yourself that you want to follow God. And also, fun fact, I had a purity ring. Like, I literally was going to be a virgin until marriage, and I lost it in a pool when I was like 14.
That is painful.
And then I lost my virginity when I was 15. So, like,
wait, you lost what in the pool? At first, I thought you meant the ring.
I lost my ring in the pool.
Oh, okay.
I thought you lost your virginity in the pool. That's why I said it was painful, because the pool is very painful. But go ahead.
It's not fun.
No. That's too advanced.
Yeah, for your first time, that's savage.
If that's your first time, he's a savage.
Yeah.
No, I was just a little
14-year-old
with a purity ring. So, yeah, I clearly don't have that anymore.
Well, my sister tried to get me one when she felt like I was having too much sex as a young adult. So, shout out to my sister. She really was trying to bring me to God for a long time. But the flesh is weak.
The flesh is
But I feel very lucky. I found God later in life, and I feel like my views aren't very traditional, and that's why it's easy for me because I don't have like this religious trauma that I went through. I did finally get baptized in 2018, but it was after a long road of doing life just kind of with God, kind of like, okay, I'll see you later. And then in 2018, it was very emotional. I just went to church one day. I wanted to go to Florida. I have a church there that they baptize you at the beach. And I just thought that would be the most purest way of being baptized. I wasn't feeling the pools, like the blow up pools at church that they try to duck you in. But it's okay. God was there. But I went to church one day and...
I am so sorry. Everybody, I don't even know who that
is. The interruptions, the amount of interruptions.
Like no one rings my doorbell.
And you gave Preston a squeaky toy, like before the recording.
It's hard being human. I'm a mama first.
I heard something drop at my house too, and so I'm just like, what is going on? Like, there's some
That's
weird.
Chris playing fetch upstairs.
Listen, when we talk about God, Like, look at all of these distractions. This is the
Go
the
check and
perfect
see who's at your
moment.
door. Can you see through
I
the
don't.
No,
camera?
I listen. I don't open up the door when the sun comes down. I'm nervous. I'm not doing it. I'm not expecting anybody. I'm not doing it. Okay. But look at this prime example. Something happened to me. Multiple sounds. Colleen looked up randomly. Just like something sounded like it fell at her home. Like this is. But go ahead, Devin. Proceed.
I feel very lucky that I got to find God later in life and kind of make my own definition. Still messing up, but still, like you said, trying to live in this world of insecurity, especially being a woman. Just they want us to hate ourselves. Like they wouldn't make millions and billions of dollars if we didn't want eyelashes, if we didn't want our nails done, if we didn't want extensions. We want everything bigger and better, and it's just exhausting. But then how do you stay true to like your natural self and loving who you are and in this world?
this is what I tell people. So my boyfriend is, I wouldn't say he's like very religious, but he's definitely more religious than I am. Um, and so when he and I started dating, we had the conversation about God. And this is what I tell everyone. God and I are on the same page, okay? Like, he gets me, I get him. He knows that I have questions, and he understands, and he knows that, like, sometimes I put his name in vain. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm saying,
like Colleen, I have to
he
interrupt.
F and
People
D.
go crazy when I do this, and it's the people who don't understand me. But Devin can attest. Like sometimes I'm just like I'll speak to him in a certain way where people are like, "Oh my God, that's God!" Like, why aren't you mincing your words? Like he knows me. I'm his kid. I'm not like this is me. Like
He
Jesus.
created me.
Like what the f? Why did this happen to me? And like this is my like normal conversation with him because for me it goes beyond. And when once more, it's not that I want to be disrespectful in any shape, way, or form, but it's more or less of an intimate relationship where I can like disregard all of the formalities and be like, hey, like you're the only dad I know. Please show up for me. Like you don't get to not show up for me. Like what's going on right now? If this person is like misbehaving in my life in whatever capacity, please expose that individual. Like I'm not built for this. I'm not strong enough for this. So it's definitely one of those situations. Give me 2 seconds. Go ahead, Colleen. I'm gonna just go make a puppy sad right now. Go ahead.
I'm so overstimulated between
Yeah, I
this,
couldn't listen. I
and
couldn't
then I
hear
don't know if you
you.
guys can hear the noises above me are like, I don't know what's going on, but anyway, yeah, no, I mean, I think that it's up to you and obviously up to God, and he's the only one that knows, how you feel. And the older I get, the more um I feel like it's important to come to those decisions by yourself. Like, I appreciate my parents for raising me in a church, in raising me in a very like non-judgmental church. I've been to Catholic churches, and I have to say, y'all Catholics are crazy. Like, you guys are nuts. No offense to any of the Catholics listening. I love you, but like,
It's
why are you
different.
guys nuts?
It's different.
They are a whole different breed.
My kid is a terrorist. Do you guys hear that? He found
Who
another.
knows with the
Like
squeak
he's
toy?
a terrorist. Excuse me. Go
When
ahead.
did he even get those? Must be new toys.
Get him
No,
a
like all of it. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think like what you were saying was so beautiful, Colleen. And it's just like the fact that people look at God as like this punisher versus like your friend. Like you can't hide anything from him. You can't hide your thoughts. You can't hide like your being. That is your aura that you're spewing out. So like you can't, we all think we can like hide things from other people and we're really bad at it. But especially God, the source who made you, he's not a
He knows.
punisher. I remember going to a church that they finally made me realize, like, act like you're sitting across from Jesus with a cup of coffee. Like, and I was just like, oh, like, he can be my friend. He's not like this father that's going to punish me. And no, it's healthy to, like, question God and question the Bible and question the word. Like, that makes you more curious. That makes you more devoted, I feel like, when you do those things.
It's a lack of understanding. Like once more, Devin, like you said, if people personalize God the way we've been taught to personalize God, they wouldn't have this fear of like, oh my God, I have to come as the best version of myself. Because I'm like talking to this guy right now, and he's just like, oh well, past tense, not talking to him, but he was just like, well, I'm not really like into God or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, so what transpired? Well, I've been exposed around people who feel like that God, like you have to be a certain version of yourself in order for you to approach him, and for me it's just like if I had a girl, like we couldn't have sex in the car like before church and then like walk inside because like I would carry that guilt. And I was like, well, clearly you don't know your Bible, because in the Bible it states that a wife, okay, is supposed to pretty much be her husband's comfort. So I can get I can have sex 20 times in the car. I'm fulfilling my godly purpose, to be honest with you. That's your misunderstanding of what it is. Because as a woman, if I'm your significant other and we've made that vow under God, I can be sucking your dick in the car. It does not push you
But
away
isn't
from
that
God.
funny? That's what he's concerned about. Like, out of all things in life going on, he's concerned that he will
He
feel
would
uncomfortable having sex with
he
you in
would
the
feel
church parking
uncomfortable.
lot.
He would feel uncomfortable if he walked in and like he knew that like something just transpired and like whatever, and I'm like, dude, clearly once more you don't know your Bible. You're carrying it from a point of view of just pure criticism or like pure whatever. But if you actually broke it down, and of course I don't have my Bible in front of me, but if you actually broke it down, it's a woman is designed to be pretty much whatever your husband like needs you to be. So if you need to be a porn star for your
And that's where I say
be a
fuck
porn
the
star
Bible.
for your husband. Be the
Uh-oh.
biggest whore for your husband in the name of Jesus. Like, I don't understand why everybody thinks that being a porn star is far away from being from Jesus. If you're a porn star for your husband, listen, God will give you an extra star. You're keeping that man home. Good job.
But we don't even want to bring up porn in this world and what the damage it's causing. But Colleen, real quick, let's go back to what you said, because you made a bold statement just a second ago. I want to know why you feel that way.
Yeah, I could get canceled for that statement, but
I was like, well,
I
damn.
just mean, like, I just feel like, there's so many things in the Bible that are, and I don't know the Bible word for word. I could not recite a passage, but I know that there's things in there that, I'm sorry, they just no longer fit in with society. They don't. Like, a man does not summon, or a woman does not, summon herself to her man. And I know that that's like how it should be, and I guess like how society wants it to be. But that's where I'm like, no. And I like to believe that God's like with it, and like he knows like what's up. And so I feel like he knows that like times have changed, and I feel like he's like pretty modern with the times. I'd like to think. So I think he knows that like that shit doesn't fly anymore. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
and I think that's too kind of digging back in, and maybe like if you found people that you enjoy storytelling and listening to stories of the Bible, because I get that. Like, if I read the Bible by myself, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? Like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Who are these people? But going to a church and, like, really listening to a good storyteller take these stories and relate it to today's world, that's what's so beautiful to me. I feel, I think you're right. God knows. He's the coolest kid on the block, so he knows that times are changing. These are my children. They're, you love your kids even though when they act up. But I think finding a church and like when you find a good storyteller, I mean, you guys know I send you guys sermons all day long to keep my sanity in check. But when you find a good storyteller, the Bible stories to me are interesting. Like, and I love that.
yeah.
I think it's crazy that this book was written so long ago, and we can relate it back, but we have to do that part as far as digging and asking questions, like you said, Colleen. Like, because the Bible to me is interesting.
Let
So
me.
I
Oh, go
love
ahead.
that the both of you said that. So I respectfully disagree with the both of you, because the Bible does not want us to conform to the modern day society. I think the reason why we are having to conform to the modern day society is because once more, everybody has pushed away from God and created this own
Mm.
image of what it is that they want their life to be. A woman with the right man, and I say those words heavily, a woman with the right man, you will not have a problem falling in line, because I feel like oftentimes the reason why we're so combative is because when we look to that person does not embody a leader. That person does not embody somebody that is uh or somebody that does follow Christ. So I always say, unfortunately for me, it's not going to be the blind leading the blind. You're not going to be dumb and be like, oh, hey, by the way, like, because I'm a man, I have a dick, like, you have to follow me. No, like, we're not playing that game. I think oftentimes the reason why women challenge men respectfully is because we don't see in them what we're supposed to see in order for us to be like submissive. We were designed to be their partners. That's pretty much what it is. I have no desire, and I've said it in previous episodes, I have no desire to be your counterpart. I have no desire to work 40 hours a week. I have no desire to go toe to toe with you. I wasn't designed for that. You will win every time because you want to know why? You were built for it. I was not built for it. The same way you're not built for childbirth. I'm built for childbirth. We can't switch roles. So I think once more, if a man in this day and age, which we like a lot of them, if they truly knew, we do. It's a it's an epidemic in itself. But if they truly understood what that 3-letter word was of being a man, as opposed to them hiding behind so many things, whether it's porn, whether it's just like everything that makes them lackluster these days and not stand up, I think we would not have a problem being what the true definition of a woman is. So modern day society, for me, I feel like that is us in a sense trying to what's the word, evolve into what we have had to evolve to, but we shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be this strong. I have no desire to be this strong. I'm an asshole. I don't want to be an asshole. I want to be a nice person, but I can't be a nice person because I have been like aligned with guys who are not necessarily ready to take that next step into being a man, whether their dad lacked coaching them, if their dad didn't know, and or they don't see God for them to understand what the role of a man is. But like honestly, modern day society is killing the household only because we weren't designed to be these things. That's why there's so much friction. That's why there's so much division, because we were not designed to be their counterparts. We were designed to be their partners.
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
So, if a guy does not believe in God, is that a deal breaker?
Absolutely.
For you
Because
both?
I was married to a guy who didn't believe, and it wasn't until after the fact that I realized that this is a major problem. Before I kind of like brushed it off, and I was like, okay, well, we're young or whatever. If he doesn't want to go to church, it's not that big of a deal. I'll go to church or whatever. But it gets deeper than that, because when life issues happen to me, I couldn't rely on him to be like, hey, can you hold my hand and pray with me? Because he doesn't know how to do that. When I wanted to like go to church because I was a Sunday school teacher and I wanted to be part of that.
Wait.
Listen, I was the best Sunday school teacher. Like, all my kids passed with flying colors, calling you look like you don't believe.
Well, yeah, I believe that.
No, like my kids are disciplined to this day, okay?
Okay, so wait, you taught Sunday school.
I did.
Did you have your titties out when you were teaching Sunday school?
I did not. And if I did, praise the Lord.
No, I think that's part of the problem. Like you were talking about porn earlier, and Colleen, to answer your question, I think once you've go out and try. Date a guy that doesn't have a faith or a foundation. You have to believe in something with me. And then date a guy who does go to God when he's nervous, does go to God when he's insecure, will hold your hand and pray for you. When you feel the difference, then you know. And like Nadine said, there's a lot of women now who are in the church and the men don't follow them. But that would be really hard for me to be in a house where I was just like, okay, I believe, but you don't have I want someone who is going through, like, life is tough. It's hard being human. And when you're going through things, I want them to know and believe in a faith bigger than themselves. Like, they have a purpose bigger than, because men and their ego, if you're a believer, you have to give up your ego every day. And for men, I think that's a huge challenge for them to put their faith into something else besides themselves. So for me, now maturing in my life, emotionally and spiritually, I would want to have a partner who had some type of higher power belief.
And that was my deal breaker, Colleen. I was just like, I can't talk to you anymore. And he was just like, I don't understand why. I'm like, I can't explain it to you, but I've experienced the other side, and I'm not going back to that page because I need somebody to reel me in. When the badass wants to come out of me, and I'm just like, oh, this person said this to me, I want to go burn their house down. I need my godly man to be like, hold a moment, come hold my hand, like, let's pray about it. If you're on the other side of the street just like me, we're both going to jail. I need you to reel me in and to remind me of my purpose, as opposed to allow me to react to this particular situation. And now we're both operating solely off the flesh. And now I have a mugshot, with my pearls, of course. I don't leave those, I don't leave it behind. But we shouldn't both have mugshots. Somebody should be able at different times within the relationship to remind the other, hey, I get it. You're upset. Why don't we, refer back to the Bible because it has all the answers, and start to figure out like what's the best situation to apply to, or what's the best answer to apply to this particular situation. So it really does matter.
See, if I was in a stressful situation and someone told me to reference the Bible, I think I would smack a bitch. Because, like I said, I did preface in the beginning of the episode that I am, trying to get.
Does it matter the person telling you, though? So even if Nadine or I came at you and was like, if it was someone you trusted, if they came at you saying the same thing, would you still be like, bitch, relax, get out of my face with that? Or do you think it's because
Probably.
Okay. Can you
Probably.
keep going?
I think just because, like, and I'm only like saying this because I feel like I need to be as like honest as possible.
Yes.
Because like I know my boyfriend, and like some people are gonna listen to this episode and like
it will be okay. It'll be fine.
No, like because there has been times where I've been stressed, where I've been like out of my mind, and I've had my boyfriend be like, just pray about it, and I'm like, okay, no, like, I'm sorry, like, this is, and I will pray about it, but like that doesn't take away my sorrow.
Well, no. There's an approach, and I always say this to Devin. I say this to multiple people. The right information at the wrong time just pretty much falls absent. If you are going off on a tangent and you're just like, I'm like, F this job, blah, blah, blah. Me telling you, hey, Colleen, go pray is not necessarily going to do anything for you at that moment, because you don't even like right now you're on 10. Prayer's on 1. You don't even know how to get to prayer. What I will say is I will allow you to have that moment. I will allow you to go through that moment. If you're screaming on the phone, go through it. I think oftentimes people think that everybody who serves God is just so calm and we're walking around and nothing can affect us. No, the angriest people who serve God, like, we probably serve God the most passionately, because we are allowing ourselves to feel every absolute feeling. So if you were to call me and be like, Nadine, F my boss, I'm tired of this shit, whatever, I would let you go through your feelings. I wouldn't tell you, Colleen, you know what would Jesus do? No, I'm going to tell you, listen, if you have to break a dish, go ahead, go crazy, because Devin can attest to that. Break a dish, do what you have to do to get through this moment, right? I'm going to allow you to get through this moment. But while you're getting through this moment, which is what we said before, as far as like being a good friend, I will try to remind you to just stay on track. Even when you're like on 10, I will like remind you that hey, God doesn't give us more than we can bear. I understand she's doing like all of these things or whatever to trigger you, but you have all the tools for success. Like, you get to be upset, but after we're upset, if we don't, get fired, and if we do get fired, that was God's plan, and it's okay. There's just this mindset that, if this happens, it's not okay. The world is designed in God's image. So anything that happens, it was his plan. So the fact that we second guess ourselves, triple, like all these things, just let it happen. The good times, the bad times. That's the reason why we have 4 seasons. You get to be mad. I hear people say, well, just put a smile on, like you have life. The fuck does that mean? I get to be upset.
That means that you're going back to Jesus, Nadine, and you're grounded. All the things going on in the world, you still have to get grounded and be like, okay, the bottom line is I'm alive.
Devin, being alive does not mean you have purpose. You can be alive.
Well, yes, you have to have awareness along with it. There's a lot more. But yes, go to a children's hospital and then come out of there telling me you're not grateful to be alive. Like, That's
I
the
understand that. But remember, the right food served at the wrong time, what's going to happen, Devin?
But what about the people who are just
No,
so
no, no.
sensitive
But
these
I
days?
want you to. I want no. I want you to answer that question. You're saying the right answer, but you're presenting it at the wrong time. The person's not going to accept that. Yeah, of course there are kids dying in hospitals. Of course I shouldn't be freaking out about the fact that my car won't start or whatever. But guess what? I get to have that moment. Everyone gets to have that moment. The human aspect of us gets to have that moment. When another individual robs you of that moment, that's what pushes people away from God, because it's just like, okay, well, I guess if I'm godly, like I don't get to have these feelings. No, you get to have these feelings so long as you're able to communicate them effectively. If I'm having a shitty day, I'm gonna tell Devin, hey, like whether it's via text or it's whatever, I'm not the best version of myself today. I'm a fucking asshole. You might not want to talk to me today. Can I talk to you tomorrow? She'll be okay with that. But if I don't tell Devin and then I'm just like, okay, whatever, of course she's gonna revert back to, okay, well, you know what? Like you have all these things to be grateful for. Maybe I don't want to be grateful today. Maybe I want to be nasty as fuck today. But I get to be nasty as fuck today because that is part of the cycle. You have to see the worst in order for you to appreciate the best. So when people try to take those moments away from people, I always remind them, let that person go through the anger, because if they don't go through the anger, they can't be cheerful. Let them be upset. Let them break something, because they're going to have that coming to Jesus moment that you're robbing them of by,
Well, how do we need
like,
to teach people that more often, though? Because that's what I'm not okay with. You're not allowed to walk around nasty to people. You texting me saying, hey, I'm not in the best mood today. I love you. I'll get back to you soon. But people aren't aware in this society. People are living in their anxiety and think everyone else should adapt to them. And that's the only problem I have with that, is people wanting to live in the complaining and in the anger. They want to live and stay in the anger instead of going and passing through it and getting on the other side. And how in
my
today's world, in a society where it's just like everything's a crutch, everyone has a label or a box they put themselves in, and then they just think that's okay. I'm this way and that's okay. That's the part I have a hard thing. It's okay to evolve and grow. And what you're saying is the most purest form of like allowing a human to be a human. But where do you have boundaries then? Where do you have it's we need to figure that out. But anyway, sorry.
But yeah, the answer to your question is allow that person to be that person. It's the worst answer, but also the best answer. If that person wants to be shitty, I have an older sister. She's 17 years older than I am. My sister has chosen anger. For years, she's chosen anger. It doesn't matter what I tell her, how I serve it, or whatever. This is what she's chosen. So for me, it's just kind of like, listen, if this is the type of person that you choose to be, all that I can do is learn how to love you in this current period. It doesn't mean that I have to sit here every time that you get on the phone with me, I'm going to shove a Bible verse down your throat, because guess what? You're not going to receive it because you want to embody hatred. Go crazy. Embody hatred for the next 40, 50 years. That is between you and God. And I think the problem with us, the problem with me, the problem with Devin, and Colleen, like, I don't know for you either, it's just that we want somebody to get to where we're at. Leave them where they're at. They will eventually. People see examples and then they gravitate towards that. Telling that person 10 positive quotes and hoping that within that conversation they automatically be like, oh my God, you're so right, I should be so thankful for this sunflower, is unrealistic. It's an ungenuine growth. You need to allow that person, if that person comes back 5 years from now and they're like, holy fuck, Devin, shit, I was a shitty friend, like, to you. That is true grace. But I think once more, you have to allow them to exit your life. And a lot of people, they hold on to the person like, I really wish they would see. I really wish they would do better. I really wish. No, that is you trying to play God. Respectfully, if this person is no longer serving the purpose that you need them to serve in your life, and they are becoming that negative version, and they're choosing like hatred and violence every day, hey, I love you, God bless, from a distance, because we absorb from a distance. I don't have to be your savior. I'm not your savior. We're on the, like I'm human too. The goal is not to shove religion down anyone's throat, but to allow them to come in their due time. But everybody has this, I want you to be on the same page. no one's ever going to be on the same page, and allow them not to be on the same page. Even when you're in a marriage for years, you're never going to be on the same page. It's that grace that you give the person that, hey, we're not on the same page, but at the same time, I'm going to appreciate you for who you are. If you wake up in the morning and you're angry or whatever, I don't have to be like, hey, Colleen, you really need to find a way to be happy. No, love that angry bitch in the morning, because guess what? That is who she is. Now, maybe one day, and my mother has taught me this, maybe one day, based off of this person's behavior, Colleen might wake up with a smile on her face. And that's when you truly know that you've made a difference in that person's life. But trying to self-correct that person every day pushes them away from you. That's not the goal. Yeah. Allow her to be upset
People need
every
space.
morning, and you be cheery.
Colleen, when do you go to God? Like, if you need to go through that process of being angry, something happened at work, and you want to just vent to Chris about something, and he throws a Bible scripture at you or something, when do you feel like you naturally go to God?
Well, it's funny you say that because, as you both know, I've had quite the week. And last night I was up and I was just kind of like sitting up in my bed and I started like talking to God. And I find that I really do that often. I do find that I pray to Him a lot. And I have like a few loved ones in heaven that I also talk to very often. And to me, that's also a form of prayer. Yes. Because I'm not necessarily talking to God, but I'm talking to, my grandfather,
angels, yeah.
my friend that passed. Yeah, my angels, exactly. And I find that I relate better that way, because in a way I do feel like I'm talking to God, because I feel like they're with Him. And then I find myself being like, oh, by the way, like, God, now that, I'm with your people, how are you? I'll chat with him. And, my boyfriend and I actually did go to church together one time, because we had never been together. And it was quite the experience. We went to a church. It was like a non-denominational. But I have to tell you, this is like, it kind of reminded me, like, this is why I don't go to church anymore. Because one, I will tell you that even though I talked about earlier how accepting my church was, when my parents got divorced, my church shunned my mother. Like, they were so mean to her. Like, we had so many friends at church and none of them wanted anything to do with my mom. And so that put a bad taste in my mouth. And then I was kind of like, I don't ever really want to go to church again. And then my boyfriend and I went, and it was just very like, you could tell we were the new people in there, and we're a young couple. So everyone's coming up to us, and like, we made a mistake and got there early. So like, everyone is coming up and talking to us. Are you guys married? Are you guys engaged? Like, blah, blah. Like, it was like, we couldn't even get a moment to ourselves. And then like, when it was over, we beelined out of there because we're like, we're not staying for anything. And it was just a lot. Like, it was just so overwhelming. And I'm like, honestly, that was the last time I've been to church, and that was probably a year ago, if not more. But it was just a lot. But I feel like there's just so many different ways that you can connect with God, without going to church. Because like I said, I grew up going to church. I went to church camp. I sang in the choir. I did all of that. And I feel more connected to Him when I just pray and I just talk to Him than when I did all of those things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. That is the most beautiful thing that you've like said, because church people are the worst people. And I want that to be quoted. They are the most hypocritical. No, they are. They're the most hypocritical. They are the most judgmental. And listen, I get to say this because I was born in it. I was able, like up until this point, I'm still crucified. Every Christmas, every Easter, every whatever, when I go, it's always just like, hey, Nadine, are you married yet? Hey, Nadine, are you this? Hey, Nadine. But then I pause to remind them, hey, are you happy in your marriage? Do you still hate them? How dare you? That's not when you see, and once more, it's this culture of like, oh, okay, like, if I see that person and they're with this individual, I'm supposed to ask them, what are their marital goals? Okay, pump your brakes. How about, hey, how are you guys doing? let me take you guys out to lunch. You guys are a young couple. Based off of what's going on today in the world, how do I identify with you guys? And hey, tell me like what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are. I'm not going to just throw the Bible at you, because the Bible, once more, yes, it has all the answers, but you can't give somebody if you don't know what their problem is. You have to ask the person what their problem is. So no one takes the time to invest in anybody anymore. The moment they see you, it's a whole list. Hey, your shirt is or your skirt is too short. You're this. Oh, so you drink, like, so I love the challenge. When somebody's like, oh, so you drink wine? Yes, I do. Oh, well, you're an alcoholic. Well, Jesus turned water into wine. Refer back to your Bible. Oh, well, I'm the clapback queen for the Bible, because the church was not designed for all of these.
See, I would rather that much be a quote.
Oh yeah, no. You come at me, I'm coming back at you.
I love that. I'd rather that a quote than the church people, because I disagree. I kind of have mixed feelings about what you guys are saying.
No, once more, Devin, it's not all of them, but the majority of them. We lose sight of why we're at church as opposed to us being so critical. If we went to church for the true purpose to get closer to God, I wouldn't see Colleen coming in the back with her hem 3 inches too short, because guess what? I'm searching for God. Why do I see what's going on in the back? Unless I did not come to build a connection with God, I came to observe. There's a difference.
Well, I'm a church hopper. I've lived in Florida, Texas, and California. So I've been to many different churches, and I've never had the experience that you had. I never felt like anyone was judging besides your mom, judging if I was wearing a skirt or pants or not. I've gone in there.
And my mom's a fucking asshole, and she knows this. We've had this conversation before, and she's gonna watch this episode and then get upset all over again. My mom's a fucking asshole. No, please don't. But she understands the fact. I think, and once more, like I said, I figured out who my mom was at the age of 33 when she was able to just like knock all that stuff out. Yeah. And we were taking shots together in Israel, and I gave her gummies, and I'm just like, this is the mom I always wanted to know. I didn't want to know this Bible thumper that, hey, Nadine, you don't get to cry, or you always have to, embody this or whatever. No, fuck that shit. Love me for who I am, and give me guidance based off of that. Like now when I cry, I can actually call my mom and be like, hey, I had a crappy day. This person said that, and she's human now, where it's just like, oh, okay, well, they said this to you. Well, F them. I'm tired of their shit. We can have that moment. But then she reminds me, listen, you're an eagle, you soar, they're chickens, they're on the land for a reason. They can't fly, you can fly. Be great. And she reminds me of that, but she allows me to go through my feelings. The old version of my mom would be like, well, it's probably because you didn't have your Bible with you at work. That's probably why this happened. Like, that's my old mom. And we never could connect because homegirl act like she was never, like, not a virgin. How'd you have me if you weren't a virgin? You know what I mean? Like, she was holier than everything. Yeah. But now she's a human first, where it's just like, that's the best way to connect with us. Because this generation, we are lost. We are questioning absolutely everything. For you to come at us with this big book and be like, here's the book, go ahead and study it, do better, you're doing us a disservice. Yeah. And we can't connect with you.
Well, like Colleen said, you can connect anywhere. And I felt like I connected most, and my spirituality grew when I started practicing yoga. Being on my yoga mat, allowing my body to open in these positions, it released me for more ways than one, Colleen. More ways than one. But I felt more connected to God ever in a church. And I've been to so many different churches. And I mean, I felt very welcomed at them. And I have been at churches where, like, I was engaged once upon a time. We went to a Bible study for people who are on track to get married, or married couples. The people we met there were wonderful. The community, we were very vulnerable with our struggles and what was going on. They were so lovely. It was the pastor who was the problem. He told us, oh, you guys live together, and he like washed his hands of us. He like, you guys, if you guys really want to be serious about this, you guys need to not live together. We're like, we're both in school. We're just trying to like do the right thing. We want to get married. And it was the pastor that chased us away, not the people in the church. It was the pastor, the man who was supposed to be responsible for knowing best of all of us and to teach and guide us. And like Nadine said, I love that. elders in the church need to take younger people out for lunch and explain to them this is real life. Like, life is hard. You're not going to like each other every day, whatever the case, and counsel these people, guide them.
Lie. They just lie.
Everyone wants to feel better than somebody else.
They just lie. When you go to their homes and like, and of course Elizabeth, like, who's my childhood best friend, she can attest to this. You go to their homes, the moment they get into the car, Colleen, after service, they hate each other. They're spewing out like nasty things, but in church they're holding hands.
Yeah.
And like, if this is not the most deceptive view of marriage I've ever seen, where you guys hate each other, you guys are together for the sole purpose of being together, but you're not really together. Like, don't teach me that shit. Don't tell me, hey, find a guy, marry him, make a life with him. No. Find a partner that you're equally yoked with so you can go through life with. There's going to be times where you guys don't agree with each other. There's going to be times where this person might cheat. That person might do something but like, truly remain ingrained in the reason why you fell in love, the reason why you attach yourself.
The foundation needs to be something. But Colleen, you never really answered, is that a deal breaker for you if a man believes in God or not? Like, you have Chris and you've stated he's religious, but if you and Chris didn't work out, or before Chris, was that a deal breaker for you?
It is a deal breaker for me. And it's like, I don't know if that's like contradicting for me to say that.
No, you're on your journey.
I'm not, like I've made it very clear, I'm not the most like religious person. And trust me, I've used his name in vain. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, F God, like, because I've had, and I know you both have also had things happen to you in life where genuinely makes me question God, and in times where I felt like he was supposed to be there for me, I felt like the opposite. And so, yeah, it is a deal breaker for me, because also, like, if you like really just don't believe in God at all, like, are you like, I don't know, like, I just picture someone that like wears like eyeliner and like has really dark hair and like screams like really loud like music all the time. Like, I don't know, those like atheist people. Yeah, exactly.
Nadine's a little emo this week.
Atheist
with the black nails. Yeah.
Atheist. But like it is, and at the end of the day, I want to raise my kids in a church. I want to bring them, even though that might fuck up my style a little bit. I want to take my kids to church every Sunday. We'll do the later service, no like early 9 a.m. services. We're talking like 11 the earliest. And we'll go out to brunch after, and mommy will get her little mimosa or Bloody Mary.
As you should, because Jesus made wine.
Exactly. And
did he make mimosas?
Things. He made mimosas.
That's a version of it. Keep going, Colleen. That's a version of happiness.
But, I'm just saying, like, we'll get the kids off to church. We'll do our little fun brunch. We'll come home. We'll watch football. Like, that really is, like, that's what I want. And then I want my kids to decide, like, what do they think?
Well, it's not beautiful though, like your journey of not like going through in and out of phases where you felt like a stronger connection with God or not. It's still leading you to raise your children, and you're giving them the best opportunity. You're allowing them to say, hey, this is what mommy believes in, but you're going to make more believers because of like the gentle approach you're going to give your children. And you had to go through your whole life, and even in a season right now of you not believing, to make sure that your offsprings are going to have the best chance of.
I don't, anyone watching this, I don't want you to think I'm not a non-believer. I'm just a questioner.
I love that.
We're all questioners.
I'm a questioner.
If you believe, you should question.
Yeah.
And the questions are what leads you back to the Bible. People think that, and I've had this conversation once more with my mom when I was going through my darkest season, where she's just like, trust God and do good. And I'm like, how and why? How can I just blindly trust? Like, no, like, I haven't received the tools for success. I'm not going to sit here and trust an entity that is allowing me to go through this. Like, what entity would allow me to go through this? But it's not until you further dig and you actually go back to the Bible in your own timing, on your own, like, clear mind, where you understand that God doesn't give us more than you can bear, and you actually search your God, and you actually take the time to understand God for you.
Speak to him.
Yes, and you speak to him. You can speak to him in whatever version you want to speak to him. Once more, this is the badass version of how we connect with God. Connect with God how you see fit. If connecting with God is through a rap song, go fucking crazy. If connecting with God is while you're jogging on your yoga mat, go crazy.
Yes.
Just take the stigmatism off of connection and apply it towards, do I genuinely have a bond with this individual? Because there's so many people who will walk with their Bibles underneath their armpits, but those are going to be the first people with first class seats to hell. Because even though they're pretending and they're pretentious as shit, they don't truly know the word. They don't know how to properly be like, hey, I understand you had 6 abortions. Why'd you have 6 abortions? Let's talk about it. As opposed to, it's just like, you had 6 abortions. God doesn't love you. You're condemned. He never wants to see you. Because God never said that. That's a man's way of pushing that individual away. An individual that actually needs guidance. But if you are walking with Christ and through Christ, you're going to be like, you had 6 abortions? Come on in. Let's talk about it. What led you to those? Walk me through each abortion. How did you feel after? So you can understand the person, as opposed to banishing the person. That's Old Testament. I love Old Testament. Old Testament is biblical because I have a dark mind. Old Testament is like, if you sin, cut off your penis. I love that shit. But the New Testament, when Jesus came around, it's like, forgive, and try to understand that person. So
why is forgiveness so hard for people? Like, why is it our ego? Is it pride? Why is it so hard to forgive someone and forget? Because if you forgive them, you have to kind of forget. You can't forget.
You can't forget.
I never forget.
But but how do we? How do you move on then?
You can't.
I'm not a good forgiver.
Yeah, no, neither am I. I hold grudges.
Me too.
No, it's okay, Colleen.
No,
Bring
it's
it up.
not okay though.
Not too
We're
far.
trying to get back to the basics. Like, no, the worldly version of us wants to not forget, but the godly version of us, we have to detach and let our grip go. Nadine, do you need to go get more wine too? I feel like you're kind of.
No. I'm gonna go get mine. Yeah, pretty much. Because honestly, like I said before, and I've told you, like, 'cause I had to readjust myself because this is personal. I've had times where you cannot. If we were designed to forgive and forget, we wouldn't have a memory. God did not give us a memory for us to forget. That is a tough thing. So I will always challenge God in that aspect, because if you wanted us to forget, you wouldn't give us a memory. So with that being said, you have to choose to move past what that person has done to you every day. It is a constant reminder to grow through it. But this whole mindset of, oh my God, he slept with 17 girls, I forgive him and I'm going to forget it. That's a fucking lie. Every time you see him, you're going to see those 17 girls. Mm-hmm. But it's the growth that comes thereafter. Like, listen, there's more to him than that isolated situation. I want to try to understand him as a person, and I'm going to fight through this, because there's no such thing as a perfect person. But this whole, I'm sorry, forgive me, it kind of disappeared. And if you love God, you're going to forget. Fuck that shit. We have a memory. You don't forget. The memory is intact.
Well, then I can't forgive. How? It's like, if I can't forget, then it's just like, I have a really hard time. Like, my pride and my ego is just like, F you, go away from me. I never want to see you again. But that detachment part, like, obviously we absorb people's energy and we have to learn to observe and not absorb it. But that's just really hard for me to figure out. And like, how do we live in a world where we all, like, you're saying to remember, not forget it. So then that way you can, what is the benefit of not forgetting it? I guess.
The benefit of not forgetting it is just pretty much going through it. Like,
okay.
So let's say Colleen does something to me that's severe, and it destroys our friendship or whatever, right? I can forgive Colleen over time. It doesn't mean I'm gonna don't worry, you haven't. And you're fine, because I have all the tools for success. But I'm saying though, like, I can forgive Colleen, and I'm going to continue to try to forgive Colleen every day. But forgiveness does not mean re-entry. I think that's what people have that misunderstanding for. If I forgive Colleen, it doesn't mean she gets access back to me. You can forgive that person and be like, hey, I forgive you. God bless. You're a shitty person. But that doesn't mean you get access back into my life to continue.
Is that forgiveness?
That is forgiveness.
You're shitty.
That is forgiveness with boundaries, because now that person no longer aligns with your values. If that person doesn't serve you, they're hurting you. So if somebody continuously hurts you, you can be like, listen, in this season or in this stage, or even like maybe throughout my life, you're not my person. I forgive you. I'll never forget what you've done to me, but we can coexist independently. That is a form of maturity. This false sense of, I'm going to forgive you and then we're going to hold hands in kumbaya, that's not normal. If God forgave the devil, he's not holding hands with him skipping. He knows the devil exists. The devil was once one of his angels. He understands what the devil is up to. He just chooses not to align with the devil
And
because
what
they
is
both have
grace?
different plans.
What is grace then? How do you know when to give it?
Grace? So you give grace when the person, okay, so pretty much, okay, if somebody does something to me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you the grace. The grace for me, and everybody can define grace differently. The grace for me is not burning down your house. I understand that you're a cheater. You can't do any better. This is what you do. It's not your fault that you're a cheater. You are led by your flesh. Once I understand
Mm.
what is actually the problem with you, then I could be like, okay, it's not his fault. I'm going to give him grace for being a human being. He's not a shitty human being. He is just
That's
flesh
pretty
driven.
shitty.
No, no,
You
no,
cheat
no.
on me with 17 girls?
17, but it's okay for him to cheat on you with 17 girls because guess what? He was just not your guy. That's all that
Yeah.
it is. The grace is understanding that the person is who they are. Separate yourself from that
Yes.
person. Love that person. Still show up for that person. If that person were to call on you, show up with or show up for them with boundaries to protect yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean to banish them. It doesn't mean
Still
to
love
forget
them.
what they've done to you. It just means that you are now in a different category in my life. I don't have to oust you out. I just have to compartmentalize you and be like, okay, you can't be in first place anymore. Now you've been demoted to the 10th place.
You're on
I
the
still
bench,
love
homie.
you. You can be on the bench. You're still playing. You still have the jersey on. That's a good sign.
When do you give grace, Colleen? When do you feel like grace is worthy?
Well, it's funny that we're talking about this because I just had someone, my stepsister, sorry to put it out there, but she did me dirty. Okay, so she did me dirty months ago, like called me horrible names for no reason. And she just reached out to me a couple days ago and apologized. And we were actually going to connect this week.
Okay.
And I told myself I was never going to forgive her. She was just someone that I didn't really
Dead to
need in
you.
my life. And yeah, I pretty much ruled her out. And I, just within the last couple of days, I've decided to give grace because I've said things to other people that I don't mean. And I've said some really nasty things. So I think it's good to give grace when it's easier to give grace when you've been in that position, right? Like it's easier to be a little bit more forgiving. And again, I never thought I was going to forgive her, but like also like I don't have like a lot of strong females in my life and she was one of them and I want that back. And so it's like
Was she kind of right about what she was calling you? Were you
no,
no? Okay, I just wanted to know. You know, sometimes it
no.
just hurts hearing it, but they're true.
What did she call you? I just want to know.
She called me my mom's name, which she doesn't even know my mom, and I don't really like. I haven't really talked to either of you about my relationship with my mother, but it's very complicated, and I hope she never listens to this episode. But
And it's
yes,
okay if she does. Go ahead.
she called me my mom's name, and she said it as like an insult, and like anyone that and she said it in front of my whole family, and like anyone that knows me knows that like if you insult me with like telling me that I'm my mother, like that's like the worst. I'd rather have you call me like the B word or the C word. And so she was like, and there's Beth. And I'm like, okay, no. And it was like, I know it might sound a little like what, but in the moment and just like what she was referring to was just very inappropriate, and everyone that was there was like that was very wrong of her. But I have said things to just specifically hurt people. And I know that she was just saying that to just hurt me.
Yeah.
And man, I wish you guys knew the context of this fight because, yeah, it was just completely out of nowhere. But yeah, you have to give grace because I mean, I've definitely done and said things that I didn't mean to people, and I would want them to forgive me, and they have forgiven me. And why doesn't she, deserve the same? And her apology was so sincere. It was literally the best apology I've ever received in my entire life. So
That
that
helps.
also helps. That helps. But yeah, we can have a whole nother podcast about mother relationships.
Mother-daughter relationships are very
Because that's a
shocking.
whole can of worms that we would be opening.
We
Love you,
need like
mom.
3 hours, but
Yeah. But
um
yeah, I mean I think it's that's when you get grace is when you can understand why that person maybe was I think hurt people
yeah.
and that's kind of where she was coming from. And I've been a hurt person and I've hurt people that I didn't want to hurt. So you just forgive and you forget. You have to in
You
order
can't
to
forget.
forgive.
You can't forget. You can't forget because the fact that you can talk to me about this means that you remember. There's no such thing as
But
forgetting.
maybe
You
changing the narrative. Is it changing the narrative then? What's there?
Yeah,
Maybe not
I think that's
forgetting, but
exactly it. I'm forgetting about it. I'm forgetting about her being like so nasty. I won't ever forget like what happened, but like I know that she's overall not a mean person.
yeah.
So like eventually, yeah, I probably will forget about it. I mean, I actually probably won't, but like
But it won't affect you the
you know,
same way.
no, and it already doesn't, knowing that she's sorry and knows that she was wrong, like, yeah,
Well, I think
that's
like
all I
Nadine
really.
said, you have to practice your faith. It's like a 24-hour cycle. Like you can't get exhausted because, and I've been there. I know you all have been there where you care for people. I've worked with children. Nadine has to have a lot of patience at her job. Colleen, people gravitate to you. So I know we've all related to this. And when you serve people all, and then you're just like the light in the room, but there's like 12 negative people just eating at your light. But you can't be exhausted. It's like 24 hours, you have to reset. And I think maybe what we can kind of tell our friends and the lovers of the world listening, how do you grow closer to God if you kind of feel like you're in that season of life where you're questioning things? Where can you take those questions? Like I know I journal. And so when I journal, I'm not writing to myself. I write to God. And God, this is my emotions that I'm going through. And what I've learned from like in the past, looking at my old journals and diaries, I always talked about the negative things, which now I write about the negative things, but I end it with positive things. Like I'll end it with a gratitude list. So I'm still going through the motions of I'm pissed. I'm super confused right now. My trauma's telling me this, but this person, I want to forgive them. I want to forget. I want to give them grace, whatever. But what's one like tool or like I journal and that helps me. But what are some tips from you guys if people are struggling to find their relationship with God? Like how do you think is like the first steps or what steps should they take to try to grow closer to God?
go ahead, Colleen.
I'm a big like stewer, like things stew in my brain, right? Like I lay in bed at night and I just think and I think and I think. And I think what I've started doing is instead of letting those thoughts just like stick with myself, I give them to God and I
Mm,
start kind of talking to Him
love that.
because I'm not the type of girl that's going to go read like the Bible. I'm not. I did just buy that like what did you get, Nadine? It's like a little.
You bought it. I have to
I
still
bought
buy it. It's on my okay. So now for sure I have to buy it.
So with the
I
It was
bought
notes?
it.
buy
It's like
it.
a devotional.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
devotional.
good.
So I've been reading that. But yeah, like I think just in times where normally you would kind of like start talking to yourself and giving those stresses to your own brain. I mean, at least just give them to God,
Let go and let
Like,
God.
yeah, exactly. Let go and let God. And like sometimes I feel like a schizophrenic. Like I'm literally like walking around my house and I'm talking to myself. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna talk to God. God, how come this happened today? Like it's just like it makes me feel, I guess, like a little bit less like is on my shoulders because I'm
Yeah.
like talking maybe a fake person. I don't know.
Well, the thing is,
Nadine,
we're all
what?
energy. And I think if you're putting that good, you're going to get in this world what you give, you know? And it's so
Mm,
is energy. Even if you just took God and made him an energy source versus seeing him
right.
as like a man or woman or whatever you want to believe, it's an energy source. And so if you're good, and I truly believe that. I feel like a lot of people are living in misery because they choose to, and they're giving that off. And then they have a bad experience because they're expecting bad things to happen to them. Versus
Mhm.
like you're trying, you're in a phase where I'm questioning a lot of things, but you got a devotional. That's huge. Like devotionals help me understand the Bible because they break down scripture to what like emotion or what it's going to help you with. So that's like the most basic form, I feel like. That's the most beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And thank you, Nadine, for sending me that because I love it.
My continued pleasure. Okay, it's my continued pleasure. So, in regards to what Devin said, for me, I would say the best way to deal. What was your question?
Like how can we help people who are lost their faith or in a
Okay.
non-believing or just depressed or anxious? What is your tip to them to just draw one step closer to God, basically? What can they do or a habit that they can do?
I want to say the best thing for them to do is to understand each feeling, to understand
That's beautiful.
where that feeling derives from. If it's the spirit of anxiety,
Yes.
understand where that comes from, like why you feel like your life is imbalanced. Understand depression, understand whatever you're feeling, because once you understand it, you can combat it. If you don't understand it, you're going to continue to find like
Mm.
a very quick way to fix it, but you're not truly resolving the actual issue. If you separate religion and you take the big hat off, at the end of the day, the Bible is just pretty much the guideline to how you should live your life. There's this very big, heavy weight placed on it that you have to be perfect. You have to be imperfectly perfect. The goal, like, God didn't make the Bible for perfect people. He didn't make those guidelines for perfect people. If those guidelines were for perfect people, there would be no Bible.
Mm.
Think about it. All of those things are going off of, they give you parables, they give you time, like they give you all these things of this transpired, so this can teach you the greater picture. You know, like ever since the beginning, I was telling Devin the other day, I was like, you know, like even the beginning, you know, just with the basic sin, he's revealing all of that to us to show us that we are human and how to navigate through it. Yes, we will fall short. Yes, we will be lustful. Yes, we will cheat. Yes, we will steal. Yes, but understand that when we do all of those things, we still know how to come back. We still
Yeah.
understand that, hey, this was a version of myself that I was. I did this 10 hours ago or 24 hours ago, but I'm extremely remorseful. I feel ashamed of my behavior. I want to come closer to God. That's all he says. He can forgive you 1,000,001 times so long as you come back and you acknowledge that, hey, I messed up. I need forgiveness. That's where that divide comes from, people who are designed to judge,
Mm.
and as opposed to people who truly follow the word. Because Devin can, and she knows this, Devin can call me 20 million times with the same problem, and I don't get to judge her. You want to know why? Because that's her process. To understand the word means you have to understand the process. Do I get annoyed? Fuck yeah. I'm like, I'm tired of talking to you about this shit. This is the same. But at the end of the day, it's
She'll
like
be fine.
that she's enlightened each time. Each time, like for me, when I see growth in Devin, it's okay. Before, when you presented this problem to me, it took you 12 months to get over it. Now it's taking you 6 months. There's a time where, like, that to me is growth, because as soon as it happens, it's like, okay, now it's not, hey, Nadine, let's spend the next year talking about it. It's like, shit, I fucked up. I gotta get back on track for success. Very good. That's not the person that I knew before. So we don't give each other that grace where it's like, okay, this person is actually showing progress. To get closer to God doesn't mean you're not going to commit sin. To get closer to God means that when you commit sin, it's the acknowledgement instantly to be like, oh my God, this happened. I can't believe I put myself in this situation. Oh my God, God, I'm so apologetic. I'm going to do better not to. As opposed to, I don't know what happened to me. I don't know how I got here, and just ignoring it.
Yeah.
There lies the full like narcissistic aspect. So I'm a strong believer that when you believe in God, you feel every feeling. You're supposed to feel every feeling
I love that.
all the time. Do not box anything, because that's what creates this false illusion of, oh, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then you kill everybody. you're not okay. It's okay for you not to be okay. It's okay for you to sit in a corner and be upset. It's okay for you to doubt God for the next 10, 15. It's okay. Because when you have that moment of like, oh my God, this is my moment of coming back, no one can take that moment away from you. Why would somebody try to be like, hey, I'm here now. Hurry up, Colleen, get here. It wouldn't be as fulfilling. It wouldn't be as monumental as when you find Christ, as opposed to when somebody tells you, hey, come along, like he's the best. I want to feel like he's the best. I want to experience. I want to have that coming to Jesus moment, as opposed to you telling me that this is where I need to be. I want to choose this place, because once you choose it, no one can make you sway left or right.
Yeah.
But when somebody places you there, you're in continuous question, because it's like, oh, do I deserve to be here? Do I want to be here? What is here? That's when the question comes. So it goes back to, once more, allow everybody to be who they are. If God sent his only son in a human form to come to earth, that means he is doing his best to identify with human beings. Not for us to pretend like we're godly, but for us to, he's showing us a mortal version. He sacrificed his son, someone that at the time they could touch, they could feel, they could see, they could hear. An example of who he is, just to show you how forgiving he is. So this whole like, oh, I have to be this way. No, he sent his only son. He sacrificed his only son to show you that even if you're human, even if you're whatever, like, I can forgive you if you do the steps that you need to do. It coincides with relationships. It coincides with anything in life. People just don't want to hold themselves accountable, but it coincides with everything in life. You know, you're entitled to go through your season. You don't get to call me for me to be like, Colleen, snap out of it. Devin doesn't get to call me and be like, Devin, listen, I'm tired of you making, these mistakes. No, as a believer, she's going to make those mistakes 101 times. But if she comes back to Christ 101 times, that's success.
Well, and too, like you said before, it's like the Bible isn't meant for, I
All
think
the
when
snap. Go ahead.
once I learned that the Bible isn't for perfect people. I think we all have this, like, once we meet a bad church person or a bad Bible thumper, whoever, whatever encounter, it sucks, but a bad experience will outweigh. But when something tastes bad, you remember that. When something tastes good, you remember it for the moment, you appreciate it. But then when something bad comes in your mouth, it sucks that it has a longer impact. But the Bible isn't for, like you said, perfect people. It's an answer for imperfect people. It's like, if you don't want to feel guilt and shame are heavy. And so if we would just go back and look at the Bible as answers versus this is only for perfect people, I think what all of us said about, I journal and talk to God. Colleen has got a daily devotion, and Nadine says, master your emotions. Like,
Just
start
go
with those
through,
3 things. And you don't even need
break,
to,
break everything. Just go through it. Just go through it.
but understand why. Don't just go breaking stuff and then,
You can break stuff, Devin. If you don't understand it at that moment, you'll understand it 3 days from now or 7 days from now. It'll hit you at a traffic light, at whatever.
But a lot of people don't reflect. So I just want to make that very clear. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be sad, but reflect on why you felt that way and go through the emotions.
Correct.
So I think that's beautiful.
Just let go and let God.
Yeah. Be a godly badass, right, Colleen?
Amen.
I'm a badass all day.
I love that. Well, yeah. No, I think that's a good note to kind of end it on. It's just like, at the end of the day, it's up to you to kind of decide like what path you want to take. And especially with age, I think you decide, do you want to strengthen that? Do you want to, kind of move away from that? And that also ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think it's a good place to have. I think it's good to have people to talk to about that stuff, and it's good to question it. And I think it's all good. I don't think that you have to be this like Bible humping freak to like be considered a godly woman. I think you can still swear.
If you're good to people and you love people, you can love Jesus and curse a little. That's okay.
Exactly. And drink some beer, you know what I'm saying? Like, God would want that for us.
At the end of the day, it's not the act, it's what comes from the act. And we're going to end that way. But it's not drinking of the wine. It's what you do when you drink. Like, that's the sin. The sin is not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sin is what you become.
Oof.
So many people are like, oh my God, well, if you drink, you're this. No, not necessarily. I can drink and fall asleep. You can drink and then go have sex with, like, all these people. It's what you do.
That's
That's not
true.
the sin.
Hmm.
I can be at a club, and that it doesn't mean I'm being sinful. I'm just standing at a club. I'm mad as could be. My feet hurt. I'm not being sinful. I'm partaking in the atmosphere. But then you can have a person that's actually in the club and they're partaking in every aspect of it. So it separates the two, because you can tell a person that doesn't belong all the time. So just give yourself that grace to go through every season, feel every season, like whatever it is, allow yourself to feel it, because once you feel it, you can then determine, is this my place or is this not my place, as opposed to guessing. Like, no more guessing. If you want to do it, because then at least when you do it, you can then come back and be like, you know what, this really wasn't for me. I don't even know who that person was, but this is not for me. Now I know better, as opposed to I wonder, like, because once more, when you wonder, there's that mindset that there's a possibility that you could head over to the other side. But live life. You have those beautiful four-letter words. Go through life, make mistakes, get messy, come back to him. It's great. It's fun.
Yeah. Space gives you clarity. And so you need a little space and then you'll get drawn closer because of that. So,
Yes, I agree.
well,
Colleen,
cheers
that's
to
your.
Jesus.
I need to finish my bottle. Go ahead.
I think that
No,
sums it up. I think that's
yeah, I
beautiful.
think that we should just, yeah, end it there. I mean, geez, I can't really talk about God much longer. No,
Yeah. It's hard being
That's
human and love them anyways. That's it.
very good. Where's the end button?